Hello, my absolutely beautiful Cancer friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2023, where Cancer, this month, not only are we going to say happy birthday to the July section of our Cancerian birthdays, so happy birthday, but we are also going to welcome in Leo season. We're going to welcome Venus into retrograde in the energy of Leo, and we are also going to welcome Chiron turning retrograde in the energy of Aries. And before we do any of that, to start out the month, we've got a full moon happening in Capricorn opposite your sign, and then we've got a new moon happening in your sign, giving you the gifts, and it's your one moment to plant the seeds of intention for your next annual birthday year for what you would like to see unfold. So provided you have made it through June relatively unscathed, especially with that last transit of Mars squaring against Uranus at the end of June, hopefully you have come in to July with a little bit of chutzpah, a little bit of pep in your step and a little bit of willingness to step forward and to wear some course corrections and also some new energy to approach new attitudes to approach your life are presenting themselves. So let's jump in here, Cancer, and talk about what is going on. Now, first and foremost, on the 3rd, we've got a full moon happening in that energy of Capricorn. And I absolutely love this because it's right across the street from you. So it lights up your 7th house space. So this is a lunation that is really saying, hey, listen, if you have kind of had rose-colored glasses on or blinders in some way, especially in your relationships, that this is really a time for you to look at some worn out ideas and beliefs about, what does it mean to love someone unconditionally? What does it mean to have this legacy and this passion and this power and this authority and this duty and responsibility in your life, in your relationships? What does that mean to you? Now, the full moon is asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to adjust something. So really, truly, Cancer, in some way, I also get a pretty big sense that this moon is a time for you of switching your title, whether that be, you go from being the supervisor to the manager, or you go from being single to being married, or you go from being single to a parent. And really where this stems from for me as I look at it, because we've got this particular moon in opposition to Mercury in Cancer, trining to Jupiter in a lovely conversation with Saturn as well. It's really this idea that you've had some worn out ideas in this area of your life around relationships. Something has been stagnant for too long. And I think you're rebalancing now and you're ready to make a commitment in a different direction that will actually allow you to build what you want in a very practical, earthy kind of way. So let the revelation pour over for you, especially if you've been asking for some help or some guidance in your relationships, especially relationships that are potent and have felt particularly powerful in your life. Okay. Now on the 10th, we're going to see Mars move into the energy of Virgo, and this lights up your 3rd house space. And for you, Cancer, all the way until August 27th, what this kind of means for you is that Mars is our planet of action. So you are learning while doing, and you are learning that the devil is in the details. So really, truly, you may be learning a new skill, a new technique. You may be perfecting a particular skill that you have, but it's all about the details that go inside of it, or whatever you're having to do is a step by step process. So depending on where this lights up and where your patience level is, this particular transit can feel really good and really exciting for you because you're building a routine, you're building something, maybe even something healthy. Maybe you're nervous or you're excited about a new routine that is coming into your life and you're learning to work with that. That can be very exciting. To the other side, if you feel like your patience has been wearing a little bit thin or your nerves have been a little bit on the wire, this particular transit can feel a little bit more like there is tension and you don't quite have a hold of your vision. So what I would ask for you to do during this particular cycle, if that's the way you're experiencing this Mars, is to first of all get very clear about what is the details and what are the details and what are the process of how you're getting things done in your 3rd house. How are you communicating? What are the contracts that you're entering? What are you learning and studying? What are the routines that you have around that? If you're writing, let's say you're writing a book or you're writing your website, you're doing something with siblings, you're learning something for the first time. If you're feeling this in a sense of like inflamed irritability, I would ask you to look at your process around it, because this is maybe what's asking you to learn to physically perfect your schedule, your skill, your technique, so that you can take some of that tension off the table, okay? When we get to the 11th, we see Mercury moving into the energy of Leo. Of course, this is going to light up your second house space all the way until July 28th. Now, with Mercury in Leo in the second house, you're thinking about money. Money is on the mind. Maybe you're having conversations about money. You're making decisions about money. And it's great because where this can be really useful is you can really, this is a fire energy. Take the lead in your life around your finances. You know, this is a fixed energy. So in some ways, I think it's absolutely fantastic for making long-term planning financial goals for yourself because you're willing to take a risk. You're willing to invest that money in gold, invest that money in silver, invest that money in, a high yield savings account. You're willing to do something really smart with the money. And it's also a sign, I think, of a fair amount of generosity. So truly with Mercury here, you could be having a conversation or you're making decisions around where you're going to spend a very big chunk of money. Either way, it's quite expressive. And the way that you're relating the information or it is being related to you, I think is really, really feels good. It feels expressive. It feels like, almost as if you're wrapped into a portion of your story or your story of your life where you're like, this feels really good to me, okay? When we get to the 17th, now we've got this beautiful new moon happening in your sign at 24 degrees. So when a new moon is lighting up your first house, first of all, it's still an opportunity to plant your seeds of intention. But this particular moon as well at 24 degrees says that there is some level of advancement in who you are, who you know yourself to be, and the things that you have brought into this life and have thus so perfected at this time. So this is a stage of the lunar cycle where I really feel like you get to, you get the benefits, the fruits of your labor at this particular time. But you may also be looking at this particular lunation at where you are needing to accept help, where you are allowing yourself to accept help or support or be taught something new because you do have a new skill in your life, or you do have the fruits of your labor have come to pass. But just because the fruits of the labor have come to pass doesn't mean you know exactly what to do with it. My prime example here is, paint this picture as you need to, beautiful Cancer. But let's say that, you haven't had children and now you have a child and the fruit of your labor is here. It doesn't mean you know exactly what to do, right? So something like that, or the new job comes to your table, or the new relationship comes in, or you transition to a new stage of life. And just because you've transitioned to a new stage of life doesn't mean that you know exactly what to do. So I would ask you where you're allowing yourself to accept support or to lend that supporting hand if you need to. But either way, one of the things to also keep in mind is that this moon is opposing Pluto, okay? So that can lead to an understanding at this moon that likely what you're taking on has some element of fear, and then as you conquer the fear, you're able to be more empowered to it. You step into your next role, because Pluto can also represent kind of this VIP or this enlightened and empowered energy. It's a prominent power. So you could also be, you're hanging out on the sun side, the new moon side, saying, you know what, I don't know if I'm this thing yet. And literally Pluto is helping to propel you into a more prominent position. And now you've got to integrate these two sides of, yes, this is who I am, this is what I've done, I do have some skills, even though I don't know everything, with this walk to your next empowerment. And you bridge that gap together by conquering the fear. Let me know in the comment section down below what that manifests for you. On the 22nd, we see Venus turning retrograde in the energy of Leo, and we are also going to see the sun enter into the energy of Leo. So it's a very busy, energetic day. Now, first of all, with this Venus turning retrograde in Leo, Venus is turning retrograde at 28 degrees of Leo, and we will track it all the way back to 12 degrees of Leo, okay? Now, keep in mind, you've been watching kind of what's been going on, what's been coming up for you around your money in the first place, because this lights up the second house for you, Cancer, since June 19th, okay? So what started to come to your attention? Did you get news? Did you get information about something that would be a major financial investment or something that would be a major relationship investment? Was there a new relationship? Was there an old relationship that you were rethinking where you're like, I need to let this go. I need to transition this out, or I need to come at this a different way so that I can bring a revival and a revaluing to it. Whatever it was, what started to come to your attention? And it was probably quite prominent as we arrived at June 19th. Now we will see Venus come out of retrograde September 3rd, but leave the full post-retrograde shadow time October 7th, back at that 28 degrees of Leo. So we've got a nice long cycle here. Again, I encourage you to go watch the video I did with Nicolas Polomonakis on the Venus retrograde in Leo cycle, but also consider to yourself what was going on in your life in 2015, and go specifically to June of 2015 to September of 2015. What was happening for you around a really important financial decision, around a really important relationship? What did you give up that you loved, or where was your passion kind of squished out, or your creativity, or something you wanted to express and have you couldn't at that time? This particular cycle is really about bringing a healing to that. So let me know what that looks like for you in the comment section down below. Then of course we've got the sun entering into Leo, so you are motivated because light, heat, life, and vitality all the way until August 23rd is abundant here, where this is an extroverted sun time. You know, go into your own chart and look at the Leo placements you have, and what did it look like last year? What did that area of your life look like last year? Because this year, when we have this expressive, extroverted, individualistic, grandiose, risk-taking, fun-loving energy lighting up once a year for you, you want to see that you are allowing yourself some enjoyment, some pleasure, some play, some romance, and to take a risk, okay? On the 23rd, we see Chiron turning retrograde in the energy of Aries. Now, this Chiron retrograde is going to go from 19 degrees of Aries to 15 degrees of Aries. And the pre-retrograde shadow time for Chiron started actually at the end of March on the 29th. And we'll see it go completely until April. But I tend to think with the asteroids, we can follow those ones a little bit more closely to the exact of their retrograde stationing. So July 22nd to December 26th, okay? Either way, Cancer, this lights up your 10th house space. So again, something is being called in about your title, about your identity in public, who we call you, right? As Chiron turns retrograde, Chiron has been the wounded healer. You have had a wound to your identity. You've had a wound to not knowing who you were, the title you wanted to be called, and in knowing yourself, especially in your professional life, in some way there's maybe been a wound, or maybe you have done some wounding. That's the thing about Chiron, where it's the wounded healer that knows the wound so deeply that it can show another person how to survive and move through it. It is also a position where we do wounding because we are working from a wound. So this retrograde is giving you an opportunity to step back into that piece of your journey and say, okay, how did I get here? What went on? What decisions did I make that led me here? But also, who am I today prepared to make different decisions, because I am holding space as an entirely different identity. There's a lot of your identity is changing energy on the table this month. I'm really curious what this looks like for you. Now, as we're going to close out this month, Cancer, on the 28th, we see Mercury entering into the energy of Virgo, again, lighting up this third house space for you, okay? Now, this is going to be the long haul because we've got Mercury taking a retrograde in Virgo come August 23rd as well. So when we see Mercury move into Virgo, first of all, it is home court advantage. So we see Mercury in a prominent, powerful energy, and you are ready to be more pragmatic and practical and get into the details. Remember, we've also got Mars traveling here as well. So we see that the thoughts and the actions are both in alignment with getting the details, right? You may even actually find that this particular area of your chart, you needed to sign a contract, make a deal, have a conversation, whatever, and the details are coming with a bit more natural ease to you. Something else I think that is really interesting and useful about this particular transit is how factual things get. Like, there's not a lot of room for the fantasy of things. Things are pretty factual and grounded in terms of information. Now, of course, you don't want to take that to the extreme of the unevolved Virgo energy where you are nitpicky, mean, and critical, but enjoy a season, enjoy a good few weeks of just the facts, nothing but the facts and only the facts, because clarity is kindness and clarity is key to making solid decisions about plans moving forward. Now, remember, this is lighting up your third house space, so writing, teaching, learning something new, communications, contracts, big decisions that you need to make, anything happening with your siblings, and of course, short distance travel. So wherever you need really key, clear information, this is the season to bring your head and your hands into alignment to get things done. All right, my beautiful Cancerian friends, I love you so, so, so much. I hope you had a beautiful birthday. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your birthdays, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye, Cancer.